Hello.
Yes, I heard you.
Okay. I thought I think you called me. You called me
Yeah.
some minutes.
I was wondering if you also want to share something about Cutler Circle after Marcus Ubani.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I actually did not prepare anything, like no presentations, just answer questions and just talk and get to know people here.
Yep, that's totally fine. I just wanted to be prepared in case
we're running out of content. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I start. Wait, I put it somewhere so I don't have to look up so much. So the main agenda or the main bulletin point I would say, or I would see is, it's a plan to reduce information overload and increase clarity, not only for newcomers, but for people that have been longer in the system than a week. So, because even now, I'm constantly seeing new things where I thought I have all channels on the agenda. So the way how I would do this is having two main points, is defining common ground and setting communication standards. I would, within the Catalyst circle, I would first of all have a very fixed amount of time that we would meet within the circles, like limiting it to an hour if possible, and then going to work. Because I think having little bits and chunks to work on is much more easy to digest and much easier for the community to evaluate if we are performing, than having a long discussion over things and people don't exactly know what we are talking about. So I would like to identify the purpose of the catalyst as in matters of past, present, and future, status and intention check. And then together with the group, I would set the purpose for the circle for the next months so that we have a clear agenda, set the role for the circle regarding DREPs for the next month, as it is not 100% defined yet, as per my knowledge, so that the DREPs know exactly what to expect from us, the community knows exactly what to expect to us, and we know exactly what to communicate. I would push the communication or parts of the communication into the Discord server so that the community exactly knows when we have had our discussions and what we discussed, because as per my knowledge, as good as the CCV3 and previous circles were, knowledge has been disconnected from the community servers. And I would like to bring that back. In regards to communication standards, boundaries on Circle self-project and project advertisements. Like, we need to set standards where we can promote ourselves and our projects, and where do we promote Catalyst. This needs to be 100% clear. We have, for example, in the Cardano in the European Cardano community, ECC, we have a clear standard. If we promote our own project, we switch the background. And we're trying to enforce that even more. And where do we recommend people? We're creating an organigram where we see ourselves, for example, Catalyst up here, then the regional members, and then like LATAM, like MENA, like Europe, like Pacific, like North American. And then we have underneath, we have the different other projects. So that gives us a clear understanding where we are and who we can recommend when. We need to, in my opinion, identify the main sources for Catalyst and Cardano, and like websites, social media, education material, because there's so much out there, but some of it's just getting lost and people don't find it. That's my assumption. I didn't find everything that I needed. And we need to put that into one space. And not everybody is clear on how to use Discord. So we have the wonderful option in Discord to have the pinned notes, and it's not used everywhere, but people wouldn't be aware of it. And that's just one easy task to do in the starting channel of a server. Hey, look at every channel to the top in and see what this channel is about, because otherwise the information is getting lost. And then as well, identifying the go-to catalyst hemisphere. That's the same, but just on the hemisphere. Like, what are side projects? What are projects the community is working on, and how can we assist that? Because I think we have very many bright minds in the community, but you get distracted by the information overload. I think that's a lot of things to do, but there's a lot of low-hanging fruits in there that can be accomplished very, very fast. So that would be my program.
There are a lot of things I agree and several things I disagree, but before we go into that, since we have also Omolola here, would you like to share a bit about your mission and things you see in like vision to do in the circle and focus on?
Was that too much overload for me now? Or?
I'm saying you are very right to say too much information overload within where we are. It's a fact.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, let's see if Omolola has some a mission on her own to share what she will do if in circle and the vision.
Okay. Can you hear me very well?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. One reason why I really am running for a seat in the Catalyst circle is basically one is just would be to give more access to Africans, because up until the time I joined Snabrilia, started working with Snabrilia, I actually never knew about anything called Cardano. And normally we hear about cryptocurrency, this and this, we hear about Bitcoin, Ethereum and all. But actually don't know about anything that has to be either Cardano and her. And Snabrilia actually opened my eyes to that. And even after joining, I had a bit of issues getting to know what Cardano is. What do we do in Cardano? What's it for? Our goals, things like that, and the aim and missions of Cardano. But after a while, I sat down. It really took me a bit of time to try to get this information, and I got to know that funny how we actually have a lot of Africans in Cardano. We have some, but not a lot. And I got to know that it seems as if this particular permits me to use the word species. I really permits me to use that word. We Africans, it feels as if we are not being represented to a particular level. And that is one thing I'm trying to give a voice to. And also the fact that coming from a background where I actually was into tech for a while, and I was told that tech should not be seen as a female something, should not be seen from a female. A female should not be in tech. That was actually my background. That's the reason why I actually just switched to something entirely different from tech. And joining Cardano, I'm seeing a lot of females doing well in Cardano, having a project proposals are awesome projects by the way. And I'm like, I need to give them people, I need to give them more people, irrespective of whether they're Africans, Asians, wherever they are, give them opportunity to know about Cardano, give them voice in the Cardano community. And that is something. And also another thing I really want to fight for in joining the Catalyst community is the fact that, we're trying to create a decentralized, let's just say decentralized world in quotes. And it starts in a way from Catalyst Circle and trying to fight for transparency, honesty in the Catalyst Circle. And okay, and the last thing would be to look for a way where more projects will be funded in Catalyst. You know, just concluded for now. I took time, basically from Snabrilla, I took time to check a lot of projects, and you could. I was so amazed by the by the measures of information I got. People doing great things, people having great plans, great missions, but unfortunately they were not funded. And we know some projects that really do not have, that might not have impact, were actually funded. Why do we have that? So these are things that has actually makes me want to run for a seat in Catalyst Circle, and also to be able to have an impact in Cardano as a whole. So that's that for me. I hope it was not boring.
Yep, thank you. The two main key takeaways I took from there was promoting Africa projects, where Marcus was kind of more like split it into promoting specific Catalyst Circle projects and then general Catalyst projects, everybody who kind of joined there. And another thing, like fight for a transparency and honesty. I did like that side of that, and I think that is indeed something we should more fight for and be very clear what kind of standards we create for Catalyst when we design systems or way of funding people, because I think it may feel annoying if you kind of get like assessments which take you down and then you don't know reasons and you can't find out reasons because it's untransparent, but there are also wins on that side. So the system side of how to improve Catalyst would be interesting. But I more see that you're not really focusing just on Catalyst itself, but more of how to emerge the culture, like how do we all operate here, and it doesn't really you're not in like a system side. So I think in Catalyst Circle we had this opportunity to choose a role who we want to be, or like could you say what did you pick up as a functional role and as a group you wanted to represent, or the group was like Africa focused? And for both you, Marcus, because I maybe didn't capture that side of that.
Omola, you want to start first, or should I give you the break?
Yeah, you can, because I'm just trying to get the question.
Okay, if I would have to pick a role, I would focus on the education part and the information design. So if that was not clearly expressed, I'm not going to focus only on Catalyst itself, but Catalyst is the entry point for many new Cardanians. And if we have the proper information there, then people find themselves through the system, would learn about Cardano, because that's exactly what Omolola said, that you don't find yourself easy, and it doesn't matter how supportive people are. We as humans, we tend to forget things if we're just talking, and this needs to be properly improved. The same thing as Darlington says, it's documentation. And I think everybody here who's a nominee is advocating exactly the same thing, like everybody. The difference that we have is the background, and that's where we need to work together. For example, I have African Nigerian roots, but I don't know how Africa works. And that's what we need to learn from those people who live there. I don't know how Asia works. That's what we need to learn from these people. Same with South America, and so on and so on. If we develop technology, we always use the Western perspective. We always think, okay, the users are running around with the latest iPhones. No, they don't. They have unlimited bandwidth. No, they don't. They have all the access they need. No, they don't. They have the same voting power as we have. No, they don't. But they need the voting power. If you want to build for Africa, we need to make sure that we find maybe ways how we can organize African voters to have more stake in a relative way, maybe. I don't know. I don't have the solution here, right? But we need to get a fair system so that we from the West, who are pretty much spoiled, I mean, we are all moaning about the current situation, about the financial crisis part 2. We have no idea what financial crisis means, to be honest. I've been talking to Americans, and I'm living in Germany, and for us, it's so difficult that we have to get Bunsen burners, right? In America, they say, hey, you got to have them because you got to be prepared to be 5 days off grid. And we need to merge that knowledge. So I'm all in for knowledge, gathering knowledge and structuring knowledge. And I won't be able to do that alone. I can give my experience in structuring data, but that's what I would stand for, right?
Awesome. You really said the truth. You know, living, being born in a developed country, growing up all day and reading a lot about developing countries, it's great. You've got great ideas, great visions, correct information. Only one thing is lacking: to know the actual reality of us here in Africa.
Yeah.
If you were to come and live with me, where we have got power cuts 3 times a day, this whole Saturday, the whole day, no internet, no power, you wouldn't just think, why is Bernard not on the catalyst? We have a meeting every 2-3 days, but he's not appearing. Why? He's not serious. Then let's deal with those that are serious from the developed. But come here and see whether you have money or not, or no money. The reality is this is a strange challenge faced in this country. That is why I said, Marcus, you've got a vision that if you lived here or you talk to people who live here, of course, some of the things they exaggerate so that they are given money. That is true. But a lot of it is substance. For example, if I tell you data is expensive, if I tell you here devices are expensive, the device a person is carrying every day, it's a 3G, old mobile phone that probably is running on the oldest Android. It's very strange to you to say, but where you are, everyone has got a smartphone with all these features, QR codes. It's natural because you grew up in that environment, but it's not the case here. That point where we say sometimes the reality here in Africa of shortage of resources is true, it can be exaggerated, but it's a big drawback to both highly academic people who are here, even those who are of the middle class. And then now you require us to compete on the same platform. All right, that is your point, Marcus, that I just really, it's a fact, I'm living here. Thank you so much for that vision. But remember, it's not only people here in Africa, you are looking at Black people suffering. Anyone of any race here is suffering under the same conditions. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. I really go with you on this first.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike. Mike Ndaba, you have a hand up. You're welcome to unmute and take the stage, ask questions, add information.
Yes, I'm sorry, my internet was a little bit lagging. So did you say anything? I was trying to raise the hand.
Yeah, you can speak and we can hear you clearly now.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Ndaba. I'm from Tanzania. And just to echo what Bernard was saying earlier, the situation in this continent is that the infrastructure is almost non-existent. And the one that is existing, I'm speaking about the internet to be more specific. The one that exists, or those that exist, are acting as monopolies. And so, yes, you may be fortunate enough to be in an area where you have internet, but at the same time, the prices are ridiculous. Here in Tanzania, we've had a spike on internet prices on cellular devices that has more than doubled, right? So before I could get 1 gigabyte for 1,000 Tanzanian shillings, now I can get that same amount of bandwidth for 2,000 shillings. So what I'm trying to say is it's almost it's a problem that is exponential. It's a chain reaction. There are so many factors that weigh in, leaving most of us in very unfortunate situations. And the other case that I'm realizing is that it also has psychological effects, right? And so you may notice some African participants, African members, people who live in Africa and face the realities in Africa. They might not be as optimistic as others. This is because they are going through a lot for the most part in terms of having to afford the internet, being fortunate enough to be in an area where the internet speeds are reasonable. So all these make people have little faith in their projects that rely heavily on this infrastructure. So I was thinking of what is happening in Ukraine right now. You have Elon Musk sending Starlink satellites. I mean, the satellites are always there, but he's enabling them to have dishes and stuff that will allow them to have internet. This is an area where there is absolute zero connection. If it wasn't for Starlink, then maybe they'll be using military hardware. But other than that, it's a very dire situation. Now, if they can respond to a situation like that in a very timely manner, I have hope that maybe there is a solution in the future where that solution doesn't rely on companies that are being ran as greedy corporations. You know, they really don't think about the lower class Tanzanian or the middle class Tanzanian. They're just focused on profits, you know. And I can also say the government support hasn't been there. The government policies have been undermining any startup that is to come up and say, hey, I want a hand in this. Because I don't know if you guys understand the politics of third world countries, but you could come with a solution and that solution will be turned down and you'll be left with nothing, you know. And that can also be very frustrating. So it's a very challenging problem. You know, there is no easy solution, but the one thing we can do right now, we can focus on enabling the infrastructure, improving it, allowing people to have affordable internet. India has had a very high spike of internet users in the past, I don't know, 5 years. And this is because internet is very affordable in India, right? And so these things are done, they can be done, they're possible. We just need the people who can be bothered enough and care enough to sort out. Yeah, thank you. I spoke for a bit too long there.
Yeah, I would already see that all the circle members, upcoming circle members, are kind of looking at the same thing from different lenses, because what also Omolola mentioned, that fight for transparency and honesty is also very important aspect of that, because these things you are mentioning, these are not coming up from like catalyst circle. Yes, people mention their problems, but you don't really get that from problem statement alone, and then you do need eyes on. You need to disseminate of that information. You kind of have to organize it properly, else it's just a huge chaos of information to even find out that information, even if it's written on a proposal and somebody's aligning on that. But before Markus, you go into, Mike, you are also one of the candidates. So could you also share your mission statement for the circle?
Yes. So can you repeat the question? I'm not sure I heard you properly. Can you repeat that?
What would be your mission as a circle member if you get elected? And what would your functional role or think in terms of that? Where would your focus be?
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to create a situation. This could be a platform where information is more streamlined, right? I just read someone mentioning something about if data is well structured, information is well structured, we could end up saving bandwidth. So at the moment, I'm a graphic designer. I do graphics, and that's how I make a living right now. Although I have a degree in accounting, but it hasn't come in handy. Employment is not exactly high where I'm from. So I get to compromise and see what I can do. And in the meantime, I got into graphic designing, and I've just seen how through graphic designing, information can be delivered in this new era. So today, the age of social media, people are always looking forward to short mediums of information in videos, pictures. People don't want to read a paragraph. People want to have something that they can see, understand within 10 or 20 seconds before they scroll down. So I thought I could use my expertise as a graphic designer, preparing graphic posters, online posters for social medias, or we could also have perhaps a website where we could put them, or any platform where anyone who needs to know anything can just reach out without having to ask. So even meetings or whatever the case might be, I'll just try to see how we can have people more engaged using graphic design.
I little generalize it, and I would also I felt like you're creating spaces where people would find an information, not just and graphical part would be I guess in MVP style of getting it started.
Right.
And thank you for that. So I have to be honest, I am a bit of bias as coming to Catalyst Circle, because also when I joined in this kind of environment 2 years ago, I also had a very expected things I wanted from this decentralized governance to come up with. And when I look at Markus' statement, one of promote our projects, and then I'm already kind of feeling oh, is there going to be conflicts of interest? Or can you clarify what you mean by promoting projects as a circle member, and what kind of impact you would like to get out of that?
To be quite straightforward and frank, when I joined Catalyst, I thought Swarm was Catalyst. And that is a promotion that kind of got out of hand. It should have been everybody who's in Catalyst should go to Catalyst. And no matter how much Swarm did, it should have been Catalyst. And there's other things as well. It's not just Swarm. It's there's a lot of giving hand in hand projects and things like that. That's the nature of humans, I guess, right? You like these people, so you're giving them some projects or whatever. However, we need to have strict guidelines in the real world, I would say so. This is called bribery and corruption, and this should not be there, right? We should not have witch hunts and so things like that. We should not behave like in a current kindergarten, right? I had an argument with you, so now I'm ghosting you. I don't give you the information. I had an argument with you. Now I'm trying to destroy your reputation, things like that. I've seen that, and this shouldn't happen, right? And I think, for example, well, there's one thing that people, you have two parties, and one thing that people dislike about Charles Hoskinson is his attitude, that he's going out there and is putting like a mouthful and just putting it out there and whatever he says. Nevertheless, he's the one who's representing the community in a political way. He's the only one who does it properly, like the whole crypto community. And if it wouldn't be for his, do you say outrageous? Is that the correct word? Like when he's getting attacked, he's just going out there and it's just getting rid of the shit. That moves minds, that moves opinions, that is energy. If everybody has the same opinion, everything's going to die. And this is exactly the same thing as we had with the witch hunt in Catalyst for some members. Yeah, people made mistakes and some have different communication styles as others. That's how we could put it as well, right? And sometimes, I mean, I used to have a lot of issues when I was communicating, right? I was doing a lot of improper jokes where people would say, hey, you're so disrespectful. I think I respect people a lot, but I'm not ashamed to say things if something is not right. And sometimes I think maybe I have friends where I don't have friends because we don't know each other that well. And that's when I do improper jokes, right? I say, okay, I'm getting too close, things like that. And people have to grow, and we need to give that chance, and we need to support people in growing, no matter what. It all comes back to our upbringing. Some people have been in a very, grew up in a very great environment where you are always polite to each other, things like that. And some people just fought their way through the streets and they have a total different way of communication. And we try to bring all of these people together in one big room and we expect that the communication is exactly perfect. No, that's not reality. And if you want to create a fair environment where everybody can grow, no matter where they come from, doesn't matter if they come from Africa or if they come from Germany, both deserve the same way of growth, opportunity, but not with disregarding the environment. And that's the thing that moves me inside. This is getting me emotional, right? This makes me lose words, but that's the answer to your question, I think.
I guess was a little clearer because the question was, what projects would you promote? But you shared something later.
I would,
but
yeah, I mean, I would promote those projects, like, for example, the Townhall regional parts, because I think these things get lost away. I'm very active in the European community. Last week, I think it was last week, we had the NFT town hall with Mina. Now we're considering joining a town hall with another region and things like that. And I, as a European, I would ask myself, okay, am I actually right? Visiting the Pacific Town Hall? Am I actually welcome visiting the African Town Hall? It's like when you click this little, when you join Catalyst, the Discord server, then you can assign yourself some roles. And the first time when I was there, I just assigned every role to myself because I was interested in every little thing. And then it hit me like, okay, might people think I'm an obnoxious take all roles guy, right? Do I try to fake something here? And this shouldn't be like that. It should be open. I mean, it is open. It is open. Don't get me wrong. But you should get the feeling and know that it is open. Not everybody is so self-confident to join every other community. So if I would promote one project, I couldn't give you another answer because I don't want to.
Okay. Well, where it came from? Because at the start, when you talked about communication standards, you split into two segues, promoting catalysts and promoting our projects. And I was like, what are those our projects? But now I actually got more
was the
clear.
Boundary.
Yeah.
That was the boundary, not to promote our projects. It's like it shouldn't be the. I'm okay with when we are in a catalyst meeting to have. There's two ways how to do that. The first one is everybody is having a catalyst background, so everybody knows, okay, this is catalyst and pure catalyst. Then there's the other way, which I would favor, is having your own project as well. Being okay with that. For example, Hosky, it would be a big issue if he would have to take off his mask. That would be not cool because that's the person he's promoting, right? With all that he is. But there should be a clear no-go for pushing projects towards your project, towards your mission. You should use that as an advertisement platform for your own sake. The only reason why I would go for being able to wear your t-shirt, you have your background, is that people see legitimacy within the Cardano system, that you're actually trying to build something or trying to do something within the system.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, because the way I made notes, I was like, oh, you want to promote that? This is where I started already. But that's the communication styles. I take notes and then it's like kind of lost. And so Mercy had a hand up for a while. Can you join the discussion?
Yes, thanks everyone. Thanks to Tevo. Thanks. I believe Joey is hosting this, and all the aspiring Circle V4 members. Yeah, so my name is Mercy, and I was one of the reps for V3. So my question is actually based a little bit out of experience. The circle work can be very, very, in terms of the work itself involved. Joey will bear me out. There's a lot of things to do. 1, 2, it can get really emotional because sometimes there's a lot of, people just, we're in the decentralized community and people see things differently. So until we get to the place that we're able to really work through those, it can be quite difficult. One of the things that I saw was very helpful was having a subcircle. In fact, a lot of the work that we're able to do was from the subcircle. So my question is, when I came to, in fact, the reason that I joined this room was, I was late, and when I got in there, had the fewest number of people in the room. So I thought, oh, let me come and find out what's going on. Unfortunately, because of personal issues, I haven't been too involved in the V4, everything that's going on. So forgive me if this question has been answered before, but I like the focus on Africa when I came in. One of the earlier presenters said that sometimes it's very easy to become discouraged, and a lot of the time I spend my time outside of Africa, and the few times that I go there, everything is 10 times more difficult, and sometimes even I feel discouraged. So I think that in order for Africa to shine, or to get its place in Cardano community, there just has to be that consistent conversation until everybody understands really what the challenges are. Okay, finally, I promise I'm coming to my question now. um, what I'm asking is that has anybody thought of pulling risk, sort of picking one candidate that has a strong Africa focus, supporting, people maybe withdrawing their what do you call it, their candidacy, supporting one candidate, and then that candidate actually looking at, like those that supported them, and if they like their platform, as sort of a subcircle to push stuff forward. Is that, I don't know if my question is clear, but I feel like the Africa issue, it's a big one and it needs to be tackled.
Could you just explain that a bit more, how you would see that flow?
Which flow?
Between the
I can try the question in a different way. Like,
yes.
Where would you find your members who support you because you're not able to do it alone and has a focus of Africa?
Like, it's just like, like banking the unbanked, so it could be any marginalized, I'm putting that in quotes, marginalized community, because when Catalyst started, things weren't like this. There was a strong focus on, let's bank the unbanked, Africa, and now the conversation has shifted completely. So I believe that there is a need to put that conversation back, and it's not just Africa, also, LATAM and so on. But what I'm saying is that have any of the candidates looked at the option of, okay, look, we all sort of support the same thing. Why don't we choose one of us? We push their vote, and then we become members of a subcircle. Does that make sense? Does my question make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but I to be honest, I don't know the others, and that's why it didn't come to my mind. And that is a very good thought. But I would think in that way, I would be a bit more competitive because I still have my agenda. I'm trying to be very, very honest about who I am and what I think. And I think the same, and I hope the same applies to Omolola and Mike and others, because that would mean that they fight, or that we really fight for what we believe in. And my stance on this is, and I said that multiple times, whoever is getting voted and is having the mission that I'm following with is getting my full support. That's the way how I would do it. But so it's moving away from your suggestion to be answering. And I don't know if I would want others to step down for me, and I don't know if I would step down for others as well. In that case, very, very honest.
Yeah, thanks for your honesty.
Yeah, okay. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Mike. Omolola had a hand up and I'm about to speak. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, sure.
So Messi, thank you for the question, because it was actually a question that that I immediately, you said the question, I actually had to like think and like, oh, that's actually true. That's actually true. But the real fact about this thing, the real truth about this thing is that in Catalyst, in Cardano itself, do we have an organized Africa, should I say an organized Africa settings in such a way that do Africans do we have weekly town halls? Do we have bi-weekly town halls for us to come together and even pick a particular candidate that would speak to our pain points? It has to start from there. And the fact that I think we have up to like, I think about 6 or 7 Africans running for this seat, and the fact that in a way we don't actually know ourselves before we can even come together and decide on a particular candidate, you know. And each and everybody, apart from the fact that we have the African part of agenda in terms of how to make African better, how to make Cardano make African better anyway, we also have our personal agenda too. For me, I'm still looking to get more people into Cardano, females, Africans. Also, I have the part of the education aspect in which there should be some level of education in Catalyst as a whole. So I feel before that can be addressed, we have to talk about the fact that organization of Africans in Catalyst, you know, there should be a togetherness in a way. I will not say in terms of opinions, because each and everybody, we have our opinions. We live by, like Marcus said, we come from different backgrounds. But at the same time, there should be a togetherness in such a way that there should be an alignment between us before we can even decide on somebody to represent Africa. I don't know if that understand where that answers your question.
Most definitely does. Thank you so much. That's a great point.
I have a lot of hands up, but I'll let Mike go as he opened up his mouth first.
Oh, okay, thank you. So a few things here I wanted to point out. First, I'm seeing challenges on how we can come to a single conclusion on what needs to be done, right? I mean, again, we speak of Africa as a country. Africa is very vague. I mean, it's a very big country. We have people from different. We are facing similar but different challenges, right? So, what I think should be done is we come together and decide what should be the priority. We decide our priorities, and then those priorities will be assigned to certain members who will achieve those priorities. So what I'm trying to say is we need a common goal. We need goals that are achievable and realistic, common goals. And that way we can have a more linear, transparent understanding of things. One of the reasons we are having trouble coming together is because we don't have any common goal. Everyone and anyone wants to prioritize something, and sometimes I don't even know what it is. So for us to come together and decide what needs to be tackled first, then we can move on. But everyone coming together, we can't create a democracy in this situation because we don't live in a same situation, right? It's like asking, can you hear me?
Kind of, you cut off, but then now we can hear again.
Yeah, so basically I was trying to say we need a common goal, and that way is by coming together and agreeing to certain goals, and we need to see them come to fruition, right? We need as small as they can be, but as long as we are moving forward, I don't care if we're moving one step at a time, but we can make progress other than tackling everything at the same time from different people. Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks.
And Joey.
Hi, thank you. Just a couple of points. I think Mike had a good perspective. In our circles, Tevo, from 1 to 3, we were given the prime objective of being a listener, listening to the community and trying to find what kind of issues they may have that we could solve. But I believe in CCP4, you're going to be able to cross those lines. Like I was kind of like paralleled in just the tool makers and Mercy with the funded projects, but I believe in 4, you're going to have an opportunity to explore crossing all those lines. So as a result of that, you may not necessarily be just in tool makers, but you could be everywhere. You could be in Africa, you could be in Southeast Asia, etc. So that's kind of like the play on what Mike was saying. And as far as what Mercy was saying, even if you run independently to win your seat in the circle, you should look at the other candidates and consider maybe taking them as part of your subcircle. Reach out to them, get to know them, shake hands with them. One of the first things that happened with me was Mercy and Nadia both reached out and said, hey, let's share our journey here and let's get to know one another. So that, and as of it, as a result, we became good friends and we could work together very well. So that's something, if you're elected, the subcircle is really the workforce. You're supposed to be mainly listening. And although it's very difficult to just do that because so many times you get your hands in it too, as Tevo knows, that line between listening and doing becomes very blurred. But if you can use the correct subcircle in the right way, you can have a little bit more definition there, which will free up more time for you to do the listening and get your subcircle to do the action items. That's all.
Sorry, can I add something really quick? I won't take a minute. Yes, so thank you, Joy. Thank you very much. And just to add something there, you see, I'm having real problems seeing how we can solve problems that are uniquely tailored to a specific group of people as we are trying to achieve a common goal, right? So I think unity is very, very important. And also, it will also allow us to implement accountability, because at the end of the day, when someone is deciding what their objective will be, they can also decide what the results will be. And so we might not be making much progress as we might be counting on, because again, someone could have spent a lot of time doing something that eventually isn't as productive as we thought it would be. Yes.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what you said, Joey, and I already reached out to some of the old folks to say, if I would get elected, I need to learn that from your perspective first. And that's what I wanted to say is, maybe that didn't come strong enough across. Those people who are nominating are nominees today, I think they have all interest in the system. And I would expect everybody who's a nominee to support the others in what they do. So I think I would be so daring to say that everybody who's here in the room is sharing that mindset. And I would probably the other rooms as well. So I wouldn't be afraid of that. However, when I see the Miro map, I see there's a lot of things that you've been discussed. And that's probably the first thing that we would have to go through somehow. And as a past sensing and putting that to the perspective that we have of today, what we experience, because you're coming from an older generation that has experienced Cardano in a different phase with a different community. And we have all grown up and we are the teenagers now. And we have seen some of the problems that you as parents have seen and have covered, and some of them have not covered. I think we're just the next generation and we need to figure out how we can do that as a joint family. And that's exactly the thing, what you have with the family. We say here in our family, there's nothing you can do about your family. You have to live with them or not. But if you're living in one house, you have to work with each other so that you're not slamming doors in each other's faces. And we need to be able to sit together on the table. And when somebody brings a friend, aka subcircle, and we need to figure out how we can work with that subcircle and communicate to their family that we are good lunch partners, if that metaphor makes sense.
Yeah. It brings back the way you started this call, which was you first looked at identify catalyst purpose, looked at past and present, and we can see that you are new in this space. You have a lot of information and you don't know where is the main information, and you see people are working around you, but not sure what is the cause or the mission behind it. And gathering that information to kind of make sense of that data and then disseminating that in circle to all the other communications the way you understand the circle works. On that point of though, where you went like establishing communication standards, and you looked at, okay, where are the main sources? And then you went even deeper and like, let's have one place of information. A little pushback there. I think there is never gonna be one main of resources, but many main resources, because even this discussion we're having right here, there are people who are focused on Africa, want to focus on African infrastructure, want to onboard them, and their main source is never going to be the main source you're going to vision or any of the circles. So on that side, it's like a caveat, but I'm interested on all of the candidates from Omolola, you and Mike. Where are your main sources you have learned about Catalyst and you think you can leverage the...
I just want to quickly answer, if okay with you, Mike, because that what you said doesn't have to disagree with what I said. We still can merge that over different accounts. So we have multiple sources of truth, and then we have the same thing that you could add special channels to different media streams or whatever, right? You can add extra information to the African channels, you can add extra information to the European channels, and that totally makes sense, as long as you know how to navigate through the main stages in the ecosystem. That's just the point on it. And if I haven't found it, I mean, I'm in the system since last year, around that time, and active since December last year. And if I didn't find it like that easily and in a way that I want to read it, then there has been something missed, because I think I still have a good attention span, but not everybody has that attention span, and some are.
Marcus, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question, Marcus? I think my microphone's turned off. Is it turned off? Can you guys, is it working now? Marcus, have you put in Catalyst? Oh, sorry, I have this problem. My webcam, it just doesn't work sometimes. Have you put in Catalyst proposals before, Marcus, or are you just like purely as an assessor kind of involved?
I did all of them, except veteran assessor.
Okay, cool. Did you have funded proposals?
No, unfortunately not. We had 33 million yes votes on the very first one, but 107 million no's. So we weren't compete with I think it was Swarm Operations, right?
Yeah.
The Townhall, right? They have the same. So yeah.
So because there was a conversation going on in the other room, in room 2, and it was kind of a make or break issue for a lot of candidates. And it's, if you had the Catalyst Circle position, would you continue to put in proposals?
Good question. I think yes, I would.
Because that was something that was discussed and it was discussed throughout the course of the last half hour or so. Because one of the major issues that Catalyst Circle faced, and this is something Omolola brought up to me a few days ago that she really wanted to tackle. One of the things that it faces a lot of corruption. I mean, I think you guys saw the issue they had with Dimitri Fernando, where he was voting on his own proposals while a member of Catalyst Circle, and then using his VCA account to downvote, and using the network opportunities that he got from being on the Catalyst Circle to also abuse his position, so that he could get more power. And I mean, that's what something really that struck me about Omolola's campaign when she if you read her application. That says she obviously she would never put in a proposal herself, but it was really strongly anti-corruption and on an anti-corruption ticket, which kind of caught my attention. So
totally with you.
what can I get? And just obviously because I know Marcus has been chatting for a really long time compared to the other candidates. Can I just get a kind of a snapshot on like what you guys think in terms of what, as a circle representative, what you represent and how you help make Catalyst a fairer place with more opportunities for people, but more fair opportunities for everyone? Could I get that from everyone? Because I just want to hear all the candidates on that.
Yeah, just go back to the recording and then you have my statement on that.
Okay, so we've got your statement, Marcus. Omolola, what would you do to make it a fairer place?
Oh no, your sound doesn't come through.
Technical difficulties.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now again.
Yes, we can hear you.
I think, like I said before, I think we fight for honesty, we fight for transparency. There should be, should I say, a code of conduct. You know, there should be a code of conduct to check which products get funded, which impacts they actually take. You don't just give them based on should I say, some voting ranks just because a particular person is trying to vote his projects more than the others and try to make the other projects look so bad and how. And that's really one thing, because I come from a background where corruption is like the order of the day. You know, in Nigeria's governance system is like, if you are not corrupt a politician, you're not seen as a politician in that way, and that's actually really affected almost roots in Nigeria. So ultimately fight for transparency, fight for honesty, you know, such a way that Catalyst is seen as an open book in a way, you know.
So would you advocate for making the voting transparent as well, which I know is a lot of people think to be very important?
Can you repeat your question? I didn't get your question.
Yeah, a lot of people have said they really want to see how the voting's happening because it's kind of a black box closed system right now. Is that something that you're advocating for as well, like more transparency when it comes to the voting?
Yes, you know, people need to see what their vote is actually doing. You know, people are actually giving their aid to vote for projects, and somehow you vote for a particular project you think should get funded, and they don't get funded. Then what's my aid doing? So definitely, I think it needs to, like I said, a code of conduct in which people see what is being done. You know, like itinerary. Okay, we finished this. We are doing this. This is like a bit of a structure we're actually following. People need to see it. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you mentioned that the Telegram channel just wasn't a really like kind of effective way to communicate that, and that the code of conduct that the Catalyst Circle put together was kind of a code of conduct for the circle, but there just wasn't one for wider Catalyst community. There wasn't kind of an agreed kind of social contract that people get involved with before putting the proposals. So I mean, I completely agree with you on the corruption angle. It's you know, it's shocking that we've seen so much of it in such a short amount of time. But it blows my mind that the kind of things that people think they can get away with. I mean, I know as through, you know, I look at proposals every single day as part of outreach for Snapbrilliant, and I do see some, I think you'd call them triers, right? Some triers. I think that's a polite way of saying it, right? So I guess, you know, open to all the candidates, but what would you do to like kind of help increase the quality and make sure that the people asking for money from Catalyst were also aligned with the ideals and the values and principles of the Cardano community in general?
For me, okay, there's this, I think I was last week, I was actually going through, I picked a particular project proposal. And funny, I was actually from Africa. I tried not to be biased there. The idea was actually a really good idea. It was really, really good idea because it's actually something that is needed in Africa. But as I was going through the budget and how I felt a lot of things were actually missing, in the sense that there were no, what exactly you want to use the money for was not actually really highlighted. And I feel at the end, there's going to be a problem with the project and how. So, like I said, I think there should be an education system in Cardano in such a way that people know what is being done. They are educated, especially about voting. They need to know what is actually going on. How do you vote? Things like that. Because I feel education aspect of Cardano is lacking.
And that's probably why we have such low engagement in general, because it's not very accessible. for us, it makes perfect sense because we know all the paths and techniques to get to it, right? We've been through the process. We've had someone help us along the way. We might have seen one of live donations still, but generally, I think that you're right, Omolola. Like there's so much miasma for the average person to get into that it just makes more sense to make it more accessible. You spoke about the funding stuff as well, and it shocks me that as we go into Fund 10, that because we're being paid out in ADA, which is a volatile asset, how can people possibly say, oh, well, this is how much it will cost with that kind of underlying volatility? So the system as it stands is broken for the next funding round. So that's a really good point as well.
Yeah,
But,
I do see there are several things in Catalyst which are broken, and we could have this kind of yes and no questions. But I did collect your questions, and I would want to hear others how they respond on the same, and then we go to Joe Chessher, and then we go back to the question I asked before you took over the hosting. And
yeah, that's what I wanted to say, Tevo. Exactly, because this has been all covered before, and there's also one thing that I want to add, because I mean you're advocating a Snaprilia. It's quite easy to do that, right? You've got a funded proposal, and Nien is Snaprilia, right? Yeah. He's got a funded proposal already, so why does he need to reapply? Okay, so you're talking here about make or break decisions, and now you're basically advocating for nominees not to propose. I mean, that's a quite difficult position to defend, I would say. Okay,
it's my position as a voter.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But then you shouldn't say, okay, we have heard enough from this person or of this person when you're joining the room late, and at the same time have already voted.
I don't want you to attack my person though when you attack my idea.
No, I'm not. Yeah, but you know, just to keep it fair.
Well, when I don't have answers to questions as well, and when I'm put on the spot, I just attack the person asking the questions as well. To be fair, so I completely.
I'm having my answers.
But I really want your input as to why, because there's a lot of corruption, and that's what one of the big problems. Marcus, what would you do to tackle corruption? Right, within Catalyst, what would you do to actually stop the corruption that we've already seen happen from repeating?
We had that covered before. That's what I'm on Tevo already.
Okay. You already have an official statement about that out, and you don't want to repeat it. Refer back to your previous statement. Got it. Very politician answer.
What Marcus was saying was focus on education. So making it form fair would be an education side. But it is a question, what does Mike feel like? How do you feel you could make Catalyst more fair? But I think it's a good question to ask.
Yes. Just you can tell from this meeting, we sometimes have opposing ideas, opposing opinions. And Marcus, you mentioned something about you expect people to support others and their ideas, and this is just not realistic. I mean, you can't expect things from people when they're not incentivized to do such things. So part of creating incentives, if you're asking me for a solution, would be having people accountable, right? So by this, I mean, when we have these clear goals, achievable goals, realistic goals that are mutually agreed upon across the table, then we can focus on those goals and those goals alone. Because again, we come from different backgrounds. We are coming from different situations. Our solutions aren't necessarily going to help the matter. Yes. So your project could not be helping us in many ways. It could also be the reason that we are lagging behind. So why don't we come together and decide what our problems are? We are the members. We're in this community. We know each other. We could create a panel, some sort of congress, where we decide what these are the problems we need to sort out these problems, and who are the right candidates to help us with this. So we can have candidates suggesting that they're suitable, they're capable of solving these problems, and then we can move on from there. We cannot rely on people who are not incentivized to help us move forward. That is what I'm trying to say. So the best way to have a fair system is when we have people accountable, we have goals, we have expectations, we have deadlines, These are the things that need to happen. And of course, voting should be transparent. I mean, I don't see why it shouldn't. And I can't imagine the cons outweighing the pros, because yes, we need the voters to be transparent. We need to have a common goal. This is how we come together. You know, having situations where these things are vague, they are not clear. Here is when we get to have different conclusions and different goals. And I find it hard to see how we can make progress this way. And again, Marcus, there are some very important questions that you've been asked, like how do you expect to solve corruption? Like these are the root of all evil. This is the problem. We need to find a way across this, you know. So you sharing your opinions will be very helpful, right? The source material you mentioned, I'm not sure everyone will go back to refer to it, you know, especially as we're sitting here together trying to come up with solutions. So I think it's very important we work as a team other than individuals.
Can you drill you a bit more on how people be more accountable? What are the things or tools or social constructs you will build to have that kind of space that they are more accountable? And you can take any side of either a proposer, you as a circle member, or assessor who is looking at the browser.
Right. So the best way is to count on the system. We can't count on individuals. So we can have measurements of success, measurements of engagement. These are things that we can come together and review as a team. Like I mentioned before, I don't see how it's hard to make people accountable, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to come to a meeting and tell us what you've done. You're supposed to explain to us what has been done. And again, progress is very important, that we have to measure it. And I think we can use this way. We can borrow pages from how people run institutions, how people run governments. This, I'm sure there are very easy solutions. See, the problem is they are not acceptable solutions all the time. These are things that we'll have to notch down, turn down our egos, turn down our priorities, and focus on the greater goal. That is the best way to approach it. So accountability has to come from people having what their responsibility, being transparent to everyone within the community. So everyone knows that either you're the engineer, you're the cook, you're the whoever, whatever you do, everyone knows that is you who is doing it. So I guess that will be the best way to approach it.
Thank you. And Joey, sorry before, Marcus has his hands up and he's a panelist. So do you want to add on to this conversation or have an answer to some question? Just Joey, just wait. So Marcus will go.
Yes.
Go,
Yes,
Marcus.
Sorry. I would have had Joey. Yeah, so again, as I said, we need to define where can we advertise ourselves and where not. Okay, that's the main focus. And where we can, or who do we direct projects to? Because that's one part. That's what I said before. It's not okay to say, okay, I'm project X Epsilon, XYZ, sorry, mixed German and English. I'm not project XYZ, and I am the only one who's able to do that, right? There's not only one job platform on Cardano. There's so many different types of projects that can support each other. Okay, we need to keep that one fair. That's the way how I would tackle that. Okay, set clear guidelines, who and how and when to advertise for ourselves, and then not abusing our position. Proposing more transparent makes totally sense to me. I don't know how much I can influence that. And that's where I have to rely on the community to teach me, right? Same goes for others, maybe. Maybe some have better answers on that one.
Thank you. And now to you, Joey.
Okay, so Thomas made some good points because they've always been a topic of discussion in the circles. Let's just start with the code of conduct. Without getting into all the details of how we got to where we are, but there's a preliminary code of conduct there now, and it's going to be up to CCC4 to complete that code. So if you haven't read what's there, please take some time to go out and read that, because you're going to be faced with that. It'll be one of your activities that you'll have to do once aboard. The other was proposals while you're in the circle, and this was a big discussion. And although I was pro allowing proposals in the circle, and other people were against it because they didn't want you to be promoting the proposal as a circle member versus an individual community member. Now, I work full time, so I'll have to admit the proposals that I put in were really for the community, but I found myself praying that they would not get voted in and voted. And unfortunately or fortunately, that prayer was answered because you will not, I can't explain how the time commitment just consumes you. You know, you will find that the circle time commitment just goes well beyond the 20 hours that they say. So be prepared to spend a lot more time on what you expect. And if you are a proposer, and there's two different types of proposals that were taking place. One was proposals on behalf of the circle. And as long as the entire circle agreed on that proposal, all was good. But when it was in conflict, one wanted a proposal, the others didn't, then it caused problems in the circle. So be aware of that situation as well. And if you do have a proposal, just keep it separate from circle as much as possible. The other thing is accountability. I'm also on a challenge team, 2 challenge teams, and that of course takes time as well. And in the beginning, when you're doing the proof of life and all this, the proposers are right there. You call them, they come out and they do the proof of life and etc. So once they're funded, you have a great disconnect there, and they put their heads down, they're working and trying to keep track of their projects and what they're doing without being a project manager on top of them is very difficult. Getting them to respond is very difficult. And I've actually asked that on their monthly reports that there be some statement there says that within the 3 months, you've got to get back to with your challenge team leads, because we have no way of knowing what you're doing, especially if we can't talk to you, you know. So there's just some of the things I wanted to throw out there. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me.
All right, now I'm wondering, Omolola, I let you go, and then I will jump back in before Thomas. I mean, I let you have a stage.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to reiterate on something that was being said before. I'm sorry for most likely taking us back, and it's the fact that whosoever get elected for this position, for this V4, there should be a meeting between V4 and V3, you know, to talk about what was the issues you actually had during your tenure. How should we take it? What should be done? You know, basically V4 is basically going to be building from what V3 has actually done, you know. So there should be a meeting in such a way that we get to know the true side of things, because they had the one there. They were the one there. They experienced everything. They experienced and all. And like irrespective of whosoever we have, our background, where we come from, there should be a meeting in such a way that there should be an alignment even before we start anything. There should be an alignment in such a way that probably a standard. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, because that's something I'll actually be fighting for if I actually gets elected. So so in such a way that V3, V4, there should be a meeting. In fact, if it can be V1, V2, anybody comes together and talk about the challenges they've been facing, how to make it better and how to make Cardano better. So that's on my part.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna take you back now 20 or 50 minutes to the question of where are the main resources you find your Catalyst information. And with this, I also would like you to include like who are the people you are connecting with, so we get a bit of a background how to even became to know about that circle position is open and you could be come up here and you can represent. And so I start with Mike.
Yes. So I was made aware of Catalyst by a friend of mine, Baba Elliott, also known as Evans Kisanga. He introduced it to me. He's a colleague of mine. We've been working together on other projects. We discussed before all of this. We used to talk about the financial future, especially in our country, and how we've been experiencing 15% inflation every year, annually. So our currency has deteriorated so far, and we're expecting 15% inflation every other year. So we started thinking of alternatives in ways that we can not just help ourselves, but also help our communities. And I remember when I was preparing my proposal, I wrote a proposal about a online market that will, it was a bit more advanced as just an online market. I tried to cater to many things that are being faced by Tanzanians. And so to answer your question, I was made aware of the platform by a friend. It was a suggestion. And ever since I got here, I realized a few challenges, and those were what made me wanted to be a circle member. I thought that there are improvements that can be made, and these are not mind-blowing. This is not rocket science. These are solutions that include things like accountability, having people who are vetted, people who can be trusted, and such and such. I hope I answered your question, Tevo.
Yes. But I would a bit more ask, okay, so you got here, your friend, you started making proposals. Where did you get the material, how to write the proposal? How did you find your communities to discuss, say, is my proposal doing great? How can I improve? Is there somebody else who can find me? Or you actually noticed there is a lack of all of that information, and you and your friend were basically doing it together until the end of fund, and then realizing, oh, there are others also here who are trying to achieve the same solution. So how can you express your, like, the way you found resources to help your own project or people to meet?
Yes, so I want to apologize. I didn't mention African Townhall. I'm a member there. I was also fortunate enough to make their logo. They gave me that task. I was very fortunate for that. And so, yes, they have been very helpful. I've also been, so we've been communicating through Telegram channels and Discord. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Shout out to African Townhall, by the way.
Yes, thank you. And Omolola, how about you? How did you get introduced into Catalyst, and where you have found your place, and where you know to look for resources when you feel like I need to know where is this, and then what is your strategy to get that information?
And thank you, Tevo. So I work with with Snabrilia. I like a liaison between Snabrilia and Catalyst. Catalyst. So I meet a lot of people every day. That's basically what I do. I get to meet a lot of people from Catalyst, get to especially those whose projects are actually not funded, and basically what Nabila is actually doing at this point in time is just to try and get projects that were actually not funded in Catalyst and look for solutions for them to get funded. So I get to meet people, I get to hear about their views, the reason why they think their projects were actually not funded, so these people are like a resource, in as much as you can say you see a lot of things on Cardano news, Cardano this and that, you also need to hear things from people's side of view. Need to know what exactly do they think is wrong with their project, what do they think is wrong with Catalyst, what can be done with Catalyst, and that's one thing I do every day. We have meetings with people day in, day out to see how Cardano can be better and how. Also a lot of projects get failed. Even after getting funded, about I think 30% of projects, even after getting funded, might actually not succeed. You know, it actually happens like that. So I work with Nabila to get more projects funded, and that's one thing that I'm really hoping one thing I'm going to fight for when if I actually get elected, in such a way that more projects, more impactful projects get funded, and like already I get to listen to people every day. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it is. And finally, Marcus, how was your journey being here, finding stuff?
How did I, so to repeat the questions, I need to.
So
how did I
basically,
get
where are
into
the
it?
main resources to find your catalyst information, and a bit more explore like Mike and Omolola, like where it came from, how did you even find this place, and then how did you start using them, and what kind of spaces or like existing things exist there, like once you have a job that fix voting, and then you're like, okay, I gotta go there, I need to look this documentation, like this kind of approach in a high level.
Okay. The way how I got into the system was by SPOs, talking to SPOs, and a lot of friendly servers that have a very casual communication style. And many servers have a Catalyst channel, and that pointed me into that direction. And as Google works, the algorithm then showed me Catalyst once in a while, and so I went into that. And I think it was a YouTube video that suggested Catalyst voting. And then I went into the town halls from there on, and the rest is basically history. When creating my own proposal, I mean, like the guidelines, I found them with the newsletter. That helped a lot to list them out, the journeys, like where you have to go, where is the way how to do things. That helped a lot. And then I'm working on my project with or without Catalyst. This doesn't matter. Catalyst would just basically be a catalyst to improve the speed. And with that, I have a background in marketing, legal, business administration, and I'm a self-taught developer. And Thomas, you're laughing. Awesome. That helps me to answer those questions that are in the proposals, to follow certain structures. Makes it a bit easier to follow those. And with some trusted members in and outside of the Cardano community, I went through the proposal, and some said, yes, sounds awesome. Some said, well, you can improve it there. And turns out it wasn't perfect, but here to learn.
Thank you. And now to you, Thomas.
Okay, wonderful. So it's good to hear that how everyone kind of got into Catalyst. I kind of want to ask, just from what like a snippet from everyone, what does everyone want to get out of Catalyst? So we heard the what, the how, but I'd just love to hear the why.
Omolola, you have
clarify
voice, but no.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you can.
I'm so sorry about that. So I think one would be to give voice to a lot of people, a lot of underrepresented people in Catalyst. And that might be Africans, it might be Africans, a lot of, we have issues like that in Africans, and not only African itself, a lot of people, to give voice to people, and also to make me a better person, in as much as you learn every time. Even if I get elected and how I'm going there to learn, in as much as I'm trying to solve some problems, I'm also going to learn and be a better person. And make the world a better place. If that's if that counts.
And it also shows that you didn't change your focus to compare to starting of meeting and now. How about you, Marcus?
Yeah, basically could repeat that. The thing when you write a proposal, you learn a lot about your business idea. That's the good thing. And I think that's basically what I can add on top of what Omolola, sorry, I'm always pronouncing it wrong, said. I think Catalyst is the one thing that is so much better than a VC, because it doesn't take away shares of your company, and you have the opportunity to try. And I had a talk today with somebody who's in the system as well, and he said the expectation that people have in Catalyst is very high. He's coming from a VC world, and he said if you have 10 proposals and one is succeeding, that's already a very high success rate. However, the situations have turned with projects that are in urgent areas where you actually can solve a really, really dire need. Do you say that? Really, something that is really urgent. Then the expectation is really, really high and different that those projects will succeed if they have an impact. And I think the thing with Catalyst, the chance that we have as a community is to share the knowledge in a way that those projects could even succeed, because in the West, maybe we sometimes, I need to learn on that, have a better education on certain things, and that's what we need to share. But we don't know how, that's what I said before, we don't know how Africa works. If we're coming from Europe, if we're coming from Northern America, we don't know, but we need to learn, and we need to merge that knowledges, actual knowledge, living in that area, and our academic knowledge and what we think is right, and put that together into something that actually can work in the direction that Cardano promotes itself. And what exactly that. Yeah. And yes, I got into Catalyst to get my project funded, obviously, right? That's the first thing people get into, I think, would say, right? Isn't that the purpose, right? To promote, to do that, to be in the system, and to get, if you have a project, to get it funded, to get it off ground faster, right? If you wouldn't have done that, why would you propose with your own project, right? If that is not the purpose of Catalyst.
You think everyone's in Catalyst to get funded and people aren't in because they want to take part in democracy? I just think that's a bit of
yeah,
I
you
against
could,
Catalyst with my hands out trying to get cash coming.
yeah, you could try to twist words around. Yeah, you could do that.
I'm in Catalyst for 3 funding rounds. I've never put a proposal in.
Well, you're in Snaprilia, right? You're the marketing officer there, right?
Yeah, I joined them after the end of the last fund. I haven't put a fund. No, I joined them after the end of the last fund. Like, so,
yeah.
I mean, like, literally, there have been I have not received a dime of Catalyst funding and not requested a dime of Catalyst funding, right? Not a single request from it. I've been in to take part in the voting mechanism, the democratic system that I believe is pushing us towards the next level of our blockchain to Voltaire and to that's technical system. That's why I asked the motivations. And I'd love to hear from Mike as well, Marcus, if that's all right. I want to hear the motivations of why people got into Catalyst in the first place, because it tells you a lot about their intentions. If they came in for money, if they came in to learn, if they came in to be part of a voting mechanism, you know, that's why I was asking that.
Okay, yeah, the very first time
I would love to hear from Mike as well.
The very first one, I was a voter. That's been it, right? And then I figured out, okay, I could add my project to it and get it probably off ground.
For money, all right, cool. Mark?
Yes, I like so I mentioned before having discussions with my friend of the future of finance, and I wanted to be part of that future. And I saw this as that opportunity.
Yeah. On a side note, I dropped a link into the chat, which actually where I also went through, that was a year ago, asking different people, okay, why did you join? How did you join? What you are using? And it has a bit of information which is actually still true, and the same issues, the same expectations. I would say the culture has a bit changed because I'm a bit aside of a Thomas here, but that when I joined, I didn't join for money. I literally wanted for governance and see the system to kind of have a place and felt like, okay, I could contribute to projects, but not really like join a project, but have like a more communications, like you were saying, like communication standards. But yeah, Bernard, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Tevo, and the rest. Your contributions, Thomas and everybody, Omola and Marcus, they are very great. I've got a question to all of us here. The first one is, Catalyst, we all agree there were some problems and there are problems that people are mourning about. Not only mourning, that they have brought forward, that we all have seen. And you can see whether you are from Africa, America, or Europe, there is a certain perception of things are not right. My first question I would like to ask all of us is, from Fund 1 to Fund 9, why did you allow these things to be there? I may be wrong. You could tell me that they were not there in Fund 8, because I only started Catalyst in Fund 9. Although when Catalyst Fund 1 was starting, I was already with Cardano. I didn't join it to ask for money, because I concentrated on learning on Bluetooth Pioneer until Fund 9 now. Then in Fund 9, I thought myself, let me also propose like everybody else. That is why now, after proposing, we wait for results, we get surprises. And then surprise after surprise, surprise after surprise, stress after stress, to a point that now I regret why I even proposed a project and entered Catalyst. Because from Fund 1, to tell you the truth, till Fund 8, I was with Cardano, happy on the Bluetooth Pioneer of Dr. Lars. But right now, my question is, from Fund 1 till Fund 8, now Fund 9, why didn't you do what we are doing now and fix things? Maybe I'm asking the wrong people. My second question, is CC the right body to shoot when things are wrong with the Catalyst? Because there are only 4 people there. What about the VPAs? Are they going through the same grooming we are having with these 4 candidates? My third question is, when the results of the Catalyst come out, are they given to the CC members to what we call it check and query? Why is this here? Why are we having more people getting more money? What about the rest? Are all these a proposal wrong? Why should you have one object assessed by 8 people? And let's say in a 9 out of 8, they rate it 5 out of 5. But those, they are filtered out. And the one that remains gets paid. But if they rated the same project and got the same rewards, why are they not all those ones paid equally? There is some other dynamics and calculations into the system. We don't know how these calculations are done to filter out. Why are you filtering out things without a reason? I got 12 million down votes. Yet when I was campaigning, not even a single person, only a few people who queried my stuff. So which means those people who came to downvote my things, I don't even know how to fix they are that problem. Yet we have got a beautiful tool, that app for the catalyst. Why is it that tool for the catalyst? It doesn't show me all my results from A to Z. You proposed A. These ones have been filtered out because 1, 2, 3. Okay, fine. I'm happy. Then the next thing, you assessed the 7 projects. I see my projects are assessed on that tool. I see them. Okay, here they are. And then we have got so many VPAs or who assessed my assessments. Here they are. They voted, there were 5. 4 out of 5, they said you didn't do a right thing. Here, 1, 2, 3. Good. I am learning because that tool is showing me. I go to that tool to select project and to assess. It must give me the results there. But now I'm getting the results on a spreadsheet that is very hard to analyze. When I sort of realized one assessor is getting 54,000. All right. If one assessor is getting 54,000 for the payment of assessment, I have been at different universities. I have been a national assessor. I have been a moderator. Where in the world, in which university have you found an assessor, a moderator, doing a work of 2 weeks and getting 54,000 US dollars? I could be having wrong information. Don't blame me, because the only information I got was just a what? A spreadsheet. So out of these 3 questions, if you can help me here, when I go back to Fund 10, even to voting for you, I will have a better understanding that fund this assessment with the new CC4, things are going to be changed. They are going to be better. But if they are not going to change and they are not going to be better, then I'm going to request we do the same with the VPAs. If the VPAs are the culprits in this whole final assessments, then let's do the same thing you are grooming these candidates who have applied. We do the same. And we can even go down to the first session where if one wants to be an assessor, ask the same question. Why do you want to be an assessor? What qualifications do you have? Have you ever in your nation be an assessor of any exam or a moderator? If it is no, then how do you expect that person to assess correctly? And worse, how do you expect that person to be a voter, to make a what we call a rational vote? Even if I can ask one question now, the CC3, I think there are CC3 members here. Did you know about the downvote? Did you approve the downvote? Did you not see that the downvote will create a race? X is my competitor. Then I create more wallets. I go and I vote down his project down. Let's say, and I voted them down because I know in this challenge, if more projects are voted down, and I go and I vote mine up with my 10 or 12 wallets, different wallets, then I create a chance for myself to get the funds. And if this weakness was never seen before, is there a way to fix it? Those are my questions. Thank you.
Marcus already has something to say. And maybe Joe is also preparing something. Marcus, you're on mute.
And it was so good.
I know, right?
Somebody said to me, going on a circle is political suicide, because you can have great ideas, but those who are implementing them do not necessarily need to listen to them. And that's why somebody who's, I think, really appreciated by the community, Nadia, left, because she was frustrated. That's what I heard. I'm not 100% sure about this, but that's what I got as a message. However, what we can do is structure the information. That's what we need to do first. I don't think we will solve all the problems. What we can do is we can try to solve the information flow part. And with that, prove. I would assume that a company like IOG and the Cardano Foundation would like to see a community that is able to solve some of their problems themselves. And if we are not even able to structure the information flow properly for ourselves so that everybody can read it, then we have not proven that yet. On the voting itself, I think from the reception that I have, many people agree that we need more transparency in that, but I don't think we are the ones to decide that, to be honest. Not yet. Unless we build a tool that allows that somehow. But I wouldn't know how, to be honest. That's just my answer on that one. Yeah. But I would try. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, Marco. Sorry to interrupt you, by the way. So what things do you think will be hard to make transparent?
The voting itself. The voting itself. Is there a way to see which wallet votes?
It's designed in a way that we don't know that, and that is the whole purpose of Jormungandr and the way we are voting. And that is actually very scientific reason why do we have down votes and up votes and the way we protect wallets. But now we are stumbling and getting this social dilemma now. But Omolola, your turn.
Thank you, Bernard, for that question.
Sorry, may I just jump in for 1 second? Because Thomas is going really out of the line here, right?
What?
I mean,
I'm sorry.
you're going really out of the line here, right?
Hold on.
I mean, sorry, let me speak out. Let me speak out. Please let me speak out.
I want to hear Omolola's answer.
Yeah, but
Can we not hear Omolola?
Please. We're talking about fairness here, right? And I'm getting bombed from the side from Thomas all the time.
You're getting bombed.
And just, yes, you do. And I'm talking, if you're talking about money and code of conduct, I'm trying to help people within my area, right? I'm doing that generally within the European community. And yeah, come on, please. What happened, my experience with your company was, hey, you know what? I have roughly 150,000 midwives that I have contact to. And I said, cool, right? And then I was set up by 2 of your guys asking me to pay $3 per contact that you scrape from LinkedIn. How is that fair? How is that helping each other, right? That's your way of conduct.
I remember this, right?
There you go.
I remember
That's
this. So we have
conduct.
a service, right? And we have a few services as part of SnapRelay. And I think you asking us, okay, why do we have to pay $3 per midwife scrape from the database? Sure, because that's a product that we have as part of our company, and it's a service that we offer to not only Cardano projects but other retail projects and as part of a recruitment service.
Yeah, but
the second thing,
communication is different.
I'm not going to be lectured by a guy who has an NFT project. He was wanting to get an NFT project funded, and now because he failed, he's trying to get on Circle so he can rally to get it funded again, and said he'll put the funding proposal in again. You know, I want people who are in for education, who are in for decentralization, who are in to educate people about the blockchain, not people that are there to line their own pockets, dude. It's like we've seen it before in Catalyst Circle. I think Catalyst can be better. I think we can all do better.
Well, considering what Marcus has shared,
quite clear.
Considering what Marcus has shared throughout this session, it doesn't come across that he's actually trying to promote. Actually, he's against promoting proposals which doesn't align with Catalyst. And I would assume he has due diligence to not promote his own proposals while having a hat of Catalyst Circle. But yeah, going back to on topic and Omolola, what would you have to say about the issues we have about Catalyst regarding the assessment, the rewards, voting results, and general culture, I would say, or basic idea scale issues.
For Bernard's question, I'd like to say thank you for that question, because it's like it's rich, you know, that makes you understand things better in a way. But for your first question, I think from 1 to 9, I would say everything is just a building block. It's a base, you know. It's just a fund to make the other one better, to make the other one better, and collectively to make everything better in the whole. So I think everything is just to be seen as a learning process, you know. Things are getting better. Some things are getting worse in a way, but I feel at least to some extent, some solutions are actually being solved in a way. And I hope that for Fund 10, a lot of issues that happened before now will not happen. I hope, hopefully. Then for your last question, I didn't really get your second question, but for your last question about the assessment and what is the guarantee that all these things will be done and how, I basically, like I said initially, is that for me, I actually think that the voting process, the voting, everything and like that should be dismantled, you know. It should be critique, like more like criticized in nature, such a way that we sit down, we check what is actually not working here, what is wrong, what issues do people actually have with these things, you know. Try to get which area has not been transparent enough. That also bounce back to education. We have the education sector in Cardano. Sorry, I'm using education sector as if it's politics. But you know, people need to be aware of what is going on. People need to understand some things better, you know. And I think with that, it helps us see projects, see whatever is happening from a different perspective, you know. So, and then, like I said, that can be done. Also, the fact that code of conduct, like I use the word code of conduct, or should I say compendium, something like that, in such a way that whatever is being done is backed by a particular code of conduct. And if anything is going to be done outside of that code of conduct, there should be guidelines for that. So I think that would actually work, you know. So that's for me. That's my answer.
Thank you. And Joey, can you fix the catalyst with your sentences?
I don't think so. So I just want to jump back to a couple of things. For as far as mentoring goes, Omolola had mentioned, fortunately for me, I had Tevo and Felix as a mentor for the tool makers. And this Catalyst Circle 4, we don't have funding for mentors, but everyone in the circle would be more than happy to mentor you, to listen, to answer any questions you have once you're elected or even prior to election. So feel free to reach out to any of us, even Tevo and Felix, because they helped me a lot, you know, because when you first start, it's going to take some time to get acclimated. First thing, you got to figure out a time where everybody can meet, because you're from all over the world, and it may be midnight for you and 2 o'clock in the morning for somebody else and 11 o'clock in the afternoon. So you got to solve that issue. And so jump past that, jump to the comment about the people joining to line their own pockets. That's kind of a funny comment, and it may be a perception out there, but I think when Tevo and those guys started, it was almost volunteer, and it only started paying a little bit out. And when I started, I was under the misconception that it was going to be $1,000 a month, but it was actually $1,000 for 3 months. And since that 3 months has been over, I've been volunteer for that period of time. So has Reese and others that have stepped into that role. So I do believe somewhere in the future, once the circle has the ability to make decisions, and just now in this circle 4, there's been a parameter change where IOG is actually going to fund the circle. You don't have to put in proposals to be funded. So that's a big difference. That's a big change. And also the subcircles will be supported, where before you were always waiting for that funding round to go through to see if anyone had funds there. So that's going to give a little stability to that administrative level, which I believe is critical in any organization. So, and on the voting, I don't have a solution to that. The Catalyst United Discord server, there's a lot of community there. They all discuss this stuff over and over, and they all try to come up with creative ideas and ways to reach out to IOG to make positive changes in the way things are going. So I would recommend getting involved. You know, get involved, put out your information, your questions there, and let those people really, you know, maybe come together to do that. And I guess the final thing would be in the circle. The best thing about the circle is that you have IOG and Cardano Foundation there in the meetings with you, and we don't control the purse strings. We don't have influence over. I mean, we can't change the treasury. They have control over that, and they have total control over changing the rules. So you're basically there, just like when I was a consultant, you're an influencer with the direct employer. You go to the meetings, and I've tried to encourage them to get us into the meetings to where we have a seat at the table when the discussions are happening, where we have a seat at the table when the decisions are being made, but that hasn't happened yet. So there's still some progress to be made there. And just be aware that when you get there, you'll have a lot of ideas, and there will be some things that you have power to do, just like you right now in the community. You can do things on your own for different tokens or whatever, but there's certain things that you have to influence the change to be made. So just throw that out there.
Thank you, Joey, for saying half of the things, so I can take a bit less time. So Catalyst is an innovation generator, and the way it does it, it requests proposals, which are assets, which are then turned into products or services. And through that, we had this kind of a governance and people also around proposals, ideas, trying to bring out the best of them and put them up and say, okay, let's focus on these, and next round, let's gather around the proposals. At the start, I think there was an assessment round, but it was basically nothing. You didn't have to say anything. You kind of just marked it. Yeah, it's cool, nice. You kind of did more like safety meta-analysis. And then we started thinking, okay, let's change the system. We were less people there. It was easier to make changes. Now there is thousands of people there. Even proposals now amount to thousands. And it's harder to get that kind of consent and understanding, okay, who is the guy who's making the rules? If somebody does something which is outside IOG, he gets all the eyes and all the problems on his shoulder. And I think where we kind of went wrong because in the proposal assessor stage itself, when you judge something, you're in a feeling level. I think, like we can see in the chat also, one person thinks that this proposal is not valuable, and he's in a feeling state on his perspective, he sees. But on the other side is the proposer who sees the value and is on site on the local areas to kind of feed the actual what is the issue and how to solve it. And there we already get that kind of issue that people put their feelings based on the ratings on the proposal, and now it's shown to everybody else without the context. And this is where I think one of the issue kind of lies, what Bernard kind of also pointed out. So yes, I think there should be a proposal process change and proposal assessor change. How do we go about it? It's going to be difficult. Like Joey mentioned, IOG has a total control. They want to give it power to community. And I think the Catalyst Circle was an attempt to do that, because it wasn't there at the start. It wasn't even mentioned at the start, but it started coming up that, okay, but if we would give power to community, how will we go to do that? And then they hired the personnel, which was Governance Alive, who went around into different pockets, like Marcus mentioned, like where are these places? Let's find out where could I find all of these people who are not connected, but part of community participating in Catalyst. And then from that kind of situation, a circle was formed without rules, and then they had to start defining rules. And now we kind of got lost in the circle version 2 and also in 3, where we always worked on internally, how could we collaborate better, but then lost the sight of the catalyst itself. So there is a lot of dynamics in the play which kind of make a mess of all of that. And for now, all what I can propose or what I hope to see happen with this new circle launch is IRG a bit more relaxed in, no, you can't make decisions, but okay, make a decision, have people finding out, align on some process change, and let's get things through. And on that side was already mentioned by Mercy, who was there. The biggest impact what I see CC3 had is subcircles, like the bodies who actually came with the solutions and gave a material for circles to look at, discuss about, and then people like me who are watching these videos and around and take that, oh, something is happening, can I connect, can I improve that? And this way it kind of, it's getting there, but it has also some issues. So yeah, back to this. And in Circle version 4, I do hope that the people who join there don't have conflicts between them, and they are reaching out to all of these different groups in the network who you can see them in proposals. They do not usually get funded, but they are proposing solution. Hey, let's have this voting method. Hey, let's have this process. Hey, let's have this service who helps proposers. Hey, let's have this school to help assessors to learn how to assess, etc. There are a lot of these things which are operational and community not funded, but Circle could look at, tap their power. And now if also Circle incentives comes in, like as Joe mentioned, there is opportunity to incentivize that financially, at least give a spark on these kinds of initiatives. Yeah, and that was my kind of rant.
So I just wanted to also, on the comment about Mercy and Nadia leaving, the Circle 3 was in turmoil. There's no doubt about it. But when we went in, everybody thought we were going to be there for a 3-month term, and then that was changed to a 6-month term. So that was a little bit of disappointing. And Mercy and Nadia really embraced their subcircles, and they built such strong subcircle teams in their different communities that that they felt at that point in time that they could better serve the community by going out and being with those subcircles and participating full time with those people. So that was their real motivation for leaving. Now, as far as CCV4, don't look past it backwards at anything that happened in Circle 3. This will be your circle. You can create it, mold it, make it into anything you want. And that's the beauty of it, that it's not stuck in one position, that you can actually mold it and make it a beautiful thing for your own self. So be positive and go for it.
Right. Sorry, did someone raise their hand? Am I interrupting?
Bernard would be next, where all of this heat happened, and now he's about to conclude it.
Okay. I really need to understand, because I analyzed the problem with one candidate in CC3. And then I also followed up on Discord, some sort of what you call it, a dispute resolution process. I also took part, I looked at it. But I don't think that candidate did that because he was in CC. I think it was because he or she was in the VPA, where they had more to do with this. That is what I'm thinking. I'm trying to say, I think the CC, I don't think there is a lot of wrong thing with the CC. And they are facing probably some things they cannot change from what we see. And then on the Discord there, I went through Treble's mind flow, the Treble's, the NFT collection. It's a beautiful effort from the ladies, and they were trying to earn a living out of it. And when the blockchain has a whole, I want to mention one thing. Utility is what is lacking. And NFTs are one of the high spinning utility features of any blockchain in the world. But I'm here to tell you bad news. I read a statement from one of their active, I think Director Watru, that made me feel bad. They have not been funded 3 times to a point now. To me, it sounded like they have to close down and change direction. The ladies, you can go there and read that. I'm coming back again. Is the CC able, or do they have that power to shut down what is coming from the Catalyst VPA? I don't know if IOHK and Cardano Foundation can give the CC that power, that mandate to say, you are mediators between grievances and these things that are happening. Should you see something where 3/4 of the people are not happy or they don't understand, freeze the results, investigate, call a rerun like the elections. Because of what use if you get 3/4 or 80% of the proposals, project proposals, unhappy, and you've got only 1/4 happy? Of what use is that? If from Fund 1 up to Fund 9, it's not the other way around. And I don't think it's a failure of the CC. I think it's a failure of the Catalyst projects, those who finally oversee the quality and the final tallying of the results. The moment you see some things that really bring a lot of questions, or you see people who are here asking. I hear on this platform, there's a lot about Africa. Could it be coincident that all these African different areas of people are feeling the same? We have never met here. Yes, we are from Africa, but we have never met. Could it be coincident? That is the thing. But let's say I'm on the CC. I'm gonna vote for you. But when you are there, you need to take this up strongly to say, okay, here, we do not have power to correct what we see. Can you help us either form sub-CCs or other representatives that will drill down to make sure that at least 60%, 70% of these Cardano projects that are UC, that you talk to, at least they are happy somehow. If they close, do you know where we are closing to? You shoot down that mind flow. I looked at it, a number of NFTs they have solved, and they are trying to solve, and they are struggling. Just like SPOs. SPOs are our pillars of the network. They are struggling. Western Africa, they can't even make profit. As a CC rep, can't you garner for some quotas? Of course, there was a quota for Africa. I don't know if it benefited at least 20% of those African projects. Could have benefited less than 10%, or it could have gone elsewhere. Not only the grievance is on this, the NFT, when they close down, like I said, okay, this, when they close down, definitely they will go to Ethereum. When I close down here with all my community, I'm from Ethereum. Probably I'll look at other blockchains, or I will say, okay, now enough is enough. Let's create our own blockchain, ladies. It is one particular incident I read, and again, it's not only in Africa, it's also somewhere in Europe where people proposed with good faith. And you can't tell me all these doctors with doctorates that they are proposing rubbish. honestly, if somebody has done a PhD, he has enough academic background in any country, any university, to have that credibility of, okay, let's check thoroughly. If this person is funded, definitely we are going to get somewhere as Cardano. Whereas a lot of projects I was following up, not only of ladies, of underrepresented, even of developers that I have been with on Pluto's Pioneer. They were not funded because the money ran out. Can't you guys who are going to vote for help to fix that? That if somebody qualifies, let's say, all right, let's take it that you have got a higher upper vote than the down vote. Fine, let's take it like that for now. Accept it. But let's make sure you get something. Even if you asked for 100%, but we are giving you 1/4 to say, all right, the funds somehow due to inflation, you see our order was $3 when we did, but right now look, our order is 36 cents. All right, but we are doing a compromise here. All right, we are going to give you a quarter, 25,000. It's better than nothing. That is my observation. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not against anyone in particular. If I have offended anyone, I am sorry. But I'm doing this out of good faith to help safeguard this precious catalyst experiment. If Fund 10, we can have, even if 60% happy, you can smell it, happy people, and we are moving forward, then it is fine. So that issue also of, are we interested in those that have more money must have a bigger vote? It's a good thing because they've got money to protect. So that is why let us not be negative against staking those people with more money. We need people with more money to come here and stake. And at the same time, if we are giving them more votes, let's put in process where the CC can have all these voters with the high stake votes to guide them to say, you see right now, we have other areas, not only this area. Please attend it to it so that at least we can have distributed votes, so that at least some projects somehow in other areas in the underrepresented, they are also catered for. So that is my feeling. I'm not attacking anyone. I am for everyone, whether you are an investor with a lot of money or a developer with a lot of hours you have put onto this, or an NFT minter. Because don't think NFT minters are useless. They are actually providing that utility to the blockchain. Apart from Bitcoin, where you just only trade, that's all. And now it's going down, down, down. I can't trade, we can't go even to trade. But here we have a beautiful opportunity. We can run NFTs, sell them, create a market, grow. And Cardano is far because we've got a blockchain with other utilities like Atala Prison. But if that Atala Prison is not funded, if Nabilia is not funded with their underrepresented projects and they are disgruntled, and then it creates that problem again to say, all right, we are just not different from Ethereum. That is all what I can observe. I think this catalyst, number one, is only Cardano doing it. And number two, it's a beautiful experiment. But I can assure you, other blockchains are going to copy it and do it even better than us. So if we fix it by we vote for you, I would be happy if all others like the VPA, the PA, can also go through the same grilling. Tevo, the way you are grilling and asking each, it's very good. If it can also be done to the PAs, by those who mentored the PA. I was mentored by somebody who was a VPA. He mentored me one-on-one and took me one-on-one on the project. Although surprisingly, my projects were filtered out. I don't mind if it was a genuine reason, but if it was an unfair play, you are not punishing me. You are actually punishing the whole Cardano system. That is why we will be happy to have change from you to vote for you, and then you go forward. Definitely, thank you so much for this opportunity. I think we are on CC10 now. If on CC10 things don't change, what are we going to see? Like Mindflow. Mindflow, I saw it there. You can go there and read that statement. I felt bad. I felt if I had my own funds, I would go to that project and say, you know what? This offers Cardano utility. We can't have our NFT marketplaces and minters and projects that are running. All right, we can subsidize you like this. Just keep it floating until the recession is over.
Thank you for that. Yeah, there are things how to improve the voting results and the way we actually even vote, but in the end, it has to come down to people having the consent. Okay, let's change the voting. Let's not use ADA to vote anymore. Let's use reputation. Where does it come from? Okay, we can have this, and it's gonna have a huge discussions and alignment required to actually agree across network to do these changes. So it's not gonna be easy, but if Catalyst Circle is aligned, the community understands that, is educated to understand that it is possible. So back to you, Marcus.
Yeah, basically answering the question with the SBOs, I found a small community that is calling themselves first two blocks of lifetime, or first two lifetime blocks. And I think that community could be a they have a line. You must not have more than 1 million ADA staked to the pool, and within the group they're basically switching around, right? So it's a very structured way of promoting very, very small pools, and I find the idea very intriguing because I think this could be a possibility to build something that is equivalent to the funding operations that Cardano Foundation and IOG do by supporting bigger stake pool operators. I've seen that in that discussion in a Discord where they said, why do bigger stake pools actually apply for this? Some of the stake pool operators do purposely take them out of the process because they say, I don't want to have a cash grab. I already have enough to mint the blocks. However, there is also this proposal from Riz. Do you say, no, you say Riz, I always pronounce it wrong, where he said there should be an SPO DAO or something like that, and where you have different purposes, like one is project driven, one, I don't get it exactly, but you find it on Catalyst as well. And I can share the link with you later. And I think the idea here is pretty cool because it would allow bigger stake pool operators to create an equivalent to Cardano Foundation and to IOG, or somehow of an equivalent. I don't know. This needs to be worked out better, obviously, but I find the idea very good because that shows that the community could actually take action and join forces. So let's first, wait. it's f2lb.info, right? And I really like the idea. Website is currently under development. I've spoke with different people and asked them, hey, is this something that we can promote faithfully? And these people have been way longer in the system than I. And they said, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So I'm just taking that on my account and saying, okay, if I'm doing a failure here, or if I'm doing it wrong here, yes, then that was a wrong communication. But from my current perspective, I think that's a pretty good undertaking, because it shows that the community can actually do something. Right now, I don't think that we would survive without IOG or Foundation. But this is a project that could lead into the right direction. And if we can show information like that, so that new SPOs, from the last calls that I learned, with a K parameter, we don't need more than 500 stake pools at the moment. That's why everybody's asking for when K for the 1,000. But if we can point the community to initiatives like these, I think that would be really helpful. That's and this I don't see this war thing, right? Everybody's like pinpointing, hey, why does IOG do this? Why does Foundation do this? This is not going to solve the problem, right? This is just going to create aggression, and it's not going to help anybody. But if the community itself is able to build projects like this, build initiatives like these, this would be helpful. If we don't rely on continuous funding, I think this would be helping. It's the same thing that I read neo-colonialization, right? This only means that you fund somebody very, very long and you don't help them on their own feet. I think we should try to put people on their own feet. And as I said, I don't think we should have the expectation to solve all the issues within the next months, but at least point into the right direction and have that in very small actionable items. If we can solve one problem at a time, then I think we have achieved a lot. And I would like to ask Joey and Tevo, how did you find the reception, right? When you had always very long meetings, and I would, and I'm thinking always, because when I'm in a communication with Cardano people, the sessions tend to get very, 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 very long. We said in the beginning, we're going to keep this to an hour, and now we're here for, what is it? 2-3 hours almost, right? Yeah. And what do you think if we drill down the meetings to an hour, trying to focus laser sharp on one thing? Wouldn't this help? And this would also, I think, lower some of the frictions, because I don't remember who said it. You want people on the circle that like each other. This is not always going to happen. And I would say this is okay. But for a very limited time frame, we need to focus not on our personality, but on the problems that we have to solve. What do you think? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, focus is always a good one. And I think what stumbled Circle version 3 was they had a help support at the start from admin, which was funded proposal. And then it also kind of, all of this political stuff happened and like this miscommunication and no rewards to also support that. Then that facilitation kind of came off, and it kind of put the burden on the circle to prepare. And if the circle members themselves have an ability to create agendas and align them before meetings, it would be fucking perfect. But yeah, now you actually do have funds to find that help from the community, and maybe it's an opportunity to speak out, to ask people who would be interested in that position. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, well, I agree if you could keep it short. I mean, the way it's structured now is you can put it in
Yes,
an agenda.
adding to what Mark had said before, I think we can focus on what we're doing, but also chemistry is always a good thing. So whenever that is possible, I will advocate for it.
It's amazing what you did, because Zoom showed you are muted, but you had the discussion and you were but back to you, Joey.
All right. So there's an agenda item where you can put everything in, and in the beginning, the governance group with Nori and JP and others and Vanessa, they were all taking notes and they were managing the group, and they were actually pretty good at keeping, very good at keeping the time frame condensed and keeping people on topic, because you can see even in this discussion, so many different angles and views and personalities, things grow, and you just keep going. So it grew into 2-hour meetings, and then it grew into instead of one meeting every 2 weeks, it grew into an additional working meeting. That went 2 hours. So I agree if you can keep it focused. And I've said this in circle. I valued what the governance people did. I thought they did an excellent job. If you can use some of your funding to go back and fund those to keep you organized and documented, and if you can use some of your funding for the Treasury group to keep your funds going in and out properly, you won't have to manage that, and you can focus on what you're doing. So right now it's kind of like we're kind of trying to do it ourselves, and it gets how can you scribe and run a meeting at the same time? It's very difficult, and if you have to measure your money, like I work with the Treasury guys to do this funding for the subgroups. I don't have to think about it. They keep track of that. They do it, and they inform me what they're doing, and it's all, for me, I don't have to think in that direction. I can put my time and energy in the other. And when the governance folks were running the meetings, Nori would keep us on track, and Vanessa and the group would document everything and put it where we could get it, and they were creating things. It was much better functioning group when that was in place. So just throw that out there.
Yeah, cool. Because we have this Mica group in our server, and we always say we keep it to 1 hour. And obviously, like the last 10 minutes, like everybody throws the ideas in, but that gives us food for thought for the next time. And this is how I would like to do this if I'm in, like keeping those meetings short and then having time to work on things. I don't know. Yeah.
Speaking of meetings and long hours, personally, 1 hour ago, I stopped taking notes, but I kept recording and conversation going, because all these hard topics kind of bring out the person and the personality who is going to be taking a lead, and what kind of solutions you're coming from, what kind of answers you would bring in circle if somebody would say, this is bullshit, because what Bernard showed you was all the problems you're gonna face every week, every day when you're elected. And before I stop recording, is there anybody else wants to say the last words before I close it? And I also will expect Kauwe to say something, because he has said nothing yet.
Yeah, I'd just like to end with repeating what I said before. Circle 4 will be unique in its structure and its organization. Everyone has the ability to change it, form it, and move it in a different direction So don't let any of the things that happened in the past be a negative. Think about the future, think positive, and all the things that you can do right.
Well, I think first I'm here as a listener, as a potential voter, but we had some stronger opinions and everything. But I think overall this kind of sessions are good. First for us to understand the personal view of the candidates, how they think, because this is an experiment, and how they think to make their hypothesis to be validated in that environment. And even though sometimes we don't agree in the sessions, it brings, like you said, those questions, and as everybody can participate, because this kind of questions is a question mark in everybody's head as well. I don't think anybody has a clear answer until they actually started doing it. And so I was trying to just listen and try to identify what questions are in this group mind, and then to evaluate. Thanks, Tevo, and thanks for hosting as well.
And Omolola?
So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your experience, you know, because it is, in as much as everybody's running for a seat, I think in a way we should be prepared for what challenges you might actually face in if you are elected. And also I just wanted to say thank you so much, and thanks for listening to our pay points, things we want to want to happen. And yeah, that's what I actually wanted to say.
And we'll almost stop the recording, but Vanessa, do you want to also share your opinion?
Yikes, you caught me on the hop there. I have no opinions. No, I mean, it's going to be well interesting to see what happens in CCV4. Yeah, I think the documentation is really important as well. So however people do that, I think just make sure that it does happen, because I think we sometimes lose sight of how what we're doing here is something kind of extraordinary. Historians of the future will be looking at this and going, this is what, I was going to say, this is how they did it. It could also be, this is what went wrong, but whatever, it's important that it is there.
Oh shit, are we part of history? Hello, future human.
We are part of history.
I was a
Absolutely.
troublemaker back then, and hopefully I'm still now.
You'll be glad it's all recorded when you're 70, mate, I'll tell you.
Good old times with the grandkids. This is how the governance started. Okay, thank you for joining. I will stop recording.